Jade, Jade, Jade. I was gonna sit there for a while. Okay. I'm gonna clip that in. Oh god. I'm just leaving it in. Hello everybody. Welcome back to Circling Seattle Sports. That is our cold open. I know Silvia wants me to do more of a cold open. We'll work on it. Maybe when I'm in a better mood and I don't have to watch Kraken hockey where they let 4 goals in the first period. This is another episode of keeping up with the Seattle Kraken. Keeping up is becoming increasingly painful as Seattle just looks rudderless. They look like their ship has sunk. Include your nautical wordplay and themes all you want. Do whatever you can to try and impress Allison Lucan with that because God bless Allison Lucan and God bless her wordplay. Um, it's bad, man. I mean, uh, by the time Sylvia and I wrapped up our sort of quicker show, after the takeover tour last week, takeover tour, which we're gonna just uh, sorry, I had to watch real hockey. And this came in the mail today. So um but yeah, ever since then, there's the tight loss to the Devils, which I think is that 3-2 score is the same 3-2 score that the Kraken lost by in New Jersey. The Kraken did not blow New Jersey up. Shout out to Chief Keef. Um, and then they go on this 5 game road trip, and I was kind of skeptical. I think maybe even hopeful that there was going to be something in these early games where you play a Columbus, you play Buffalo, and you play Detroit, who, if you look at them overall on the season, they haven't had the best. Columbus is a fun story. They really are a fun story with, obviously, the year doesn't start out great with the passing of the Gaudreau brothers, and it's very emotional. Sean Monahan's been a great story. Zach Werenski's been a great story. Kirill Marchenko is having a great year, who I have in fantasy. Thank you, Kirill. Um, they've had a great story this season, and I think I don't know if they're still in it, but last earlier in the week they were in a playoff spot.
They
So
still are.
they still
Oh
well,
well,
there
great
you
spot.
go.
Yep.
So, Buffalo, there aren't many fan bases that I think suffer as much as the Mariners. The Buffalo Sabres are certainly up there. Um, and nope, nope, wrong show. The Kraken pulled off a win there after one of the ugliest first periods I've ever seen, which somehow got even worse after they came back to beat the Sabres in that game on Saturday, in the first game of a back to back. They get absolutely lampooned in the Sunday game against the Detroit Red Wings, giving up 4 goals in the first period. Um, yes,
I have a
thanks.
really fun story to interject about today's game. So my
Uh-oh.
4-year-old has never cared about hockey before. I got him a set of sticks and a net and a jersey for his birthday. And the last time I put on a game, he freaked out and said that he wanted to watch monster trucks instead of hockey. And then today I put on the Kraken game and he goes, "Mom, is this uh the Seattle Kraken team?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is the Seattle Kraken." And he's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then the game happened. So,
No
Way to
more
bury
Seattle Kraken.
your 4-year-old's like hopes and dreams.
yeah. So, perhaps I don't have a future hockey player on my hands, but
Seattle
he,
Kraken will pay for their crimes.
yep, he did get to experience Seattle sports for the first time ever for real. So, fun for me, bad for him. Well, really not that
Looks.
fun, but
Good luck, son.
yeah.
Good. Uh, so yeah. Anyway, but thank you for that, and the God bless him and the horrors that will come of him in this sport because
Yeah.
I oy vey. Um, there's a few ways we could go with our opening topic here about what to think about this past week because again, Monday against the Devils, like it is a loss, yes, but to push one of the better teams in the league this year to that 1 goal, um, just the loss of by 1 goal, it's a bad thing. Like it's not the loss that you suffered in Columbus. It's the loss that you suffered in Detroit. And if the trends here continue, the Kraken will either win 6-2 on Tuesday against the Pittsburgh Penguins or lose 6-2 because the last 3 games that they've played have resulted in a final score of 6-2. Um, I don't know. Sylvia, pick us off here, and then Jade, I'll
Oh,
have you pick it up. What do you what words, what comes to mind? How hopeless are you after this last week of Seattle Kraken hockey?
I will never lose hope, and I need to make that once again clear. That is not me. But I don't know. I look, I mean, we're witnessing a team where like nothing is changing. And like we talked about it last time, where at least I'm sitting here listening to these post-game interviews, these intermission interviews, where they're saying, we got to crash the net, we got to do this, we got to do that, and then proceed to not do any of the things that they're talking about. So it's a lot, it's still just an incredibly unpredictable team, and not unpredictable in like the way you would want a team to be unpredictable on the ice. It's just incredibly inconsistent. It is a tough watch, especially when you have a goalie being pulled twice in 2 games. That's tough in and of itself. I think we've talked about the way that people talk about Gru online, offline. And then watching him kind of carry the team while Joey's out and then fully fall apart while after Joey comes back, it's just rough. I think it is. I don't know. I don't know, how can you spin this? Our AHL team's pretty good. I'll give you that. Our AHLers, they're pretty good. Despite some people saying they're not. Again, we have some good talent coming in, and that's kind of the only thing that I can say about the Kraken right now, is that I'm looking for a future where the Kraken aren't these Kraken.
I agree with a lot of that. I the past week has been at least like mildly disappointing, if not very disappointing. I didn't watch, was it the Columbus game? Yeah, didn't watch the Columbus game. I think I napped through it, which I keep doing, and then sometimes we win, sometimes we lose really bad. But today's game was just, honestly, I have nothing really good to say about today's game. Like I'm trying to rack my brain for something good and I just have nothing. There seems to be this thing where uh Grubauer, I have a note on my phone that I wrote down, but he'll let a goal in and then shot off of his left side will kind of throw him off, and that's kind of how teams tend to score so quickly in succession with him. I've seen it a handful of times this season, and I just you said that they're unpredictable, not in the way that you want them to be, and I agree with that. I think that they are predictable in the way that they continue to play just just not good. I think I tweeted about it earlier that it was ugly hockey. Like nothing that the Kraken were doing was good in my opinion. So, I don't know. I haven't lost hope because, at a minimum they're going to get a good draft pick if nothing else. But yeah, I just scratch the whole season. Let's start over.
All right, let me cook here for a second. This is just I want to get the ridicule, and to Sylvia's point, this was a thought of hers several few shows ago, right? About the coaching staff, and Sylvia's had talked about the coaching staff throughout the course of the season, whether it be on this show or before it. But I'm tired of the rhetoric that the coaching staff is the problem, or that firing the staff would do anything to help this team. My big thing, and I've sent this, I think, to us, to group chats, whatever it may be, maybe even via carrier pigeon to anyone who will receive it. The Kraken are largely the same group that we saw last year. Their top nine is largely the same. The goaltenders are the same. The the defensemen are largely the same outside of two old fuddy duddies and Justin Schultz and Brian Dumoulin. Okay. Like, this is largely the same group. If you're telling me that bringing in Josh Mahura, I'm not starting that yet, messes up everything so much, believe you. Chandler Stevenson has been bad. Yes, sure. Insert your words about the contract. I've moved past the issues of the contract. it is what it is now. Address it in the offseason if want to be that you want to get rid of it that bad. I'd be fine with it. Like buyout would be great, cool, whatever, just to get rid of it. But I don't think they do that right now. I think buying out a guy in the middle of the season is an extremely bad look. Unless the guy says, "Hey, I just want to get the hell out of here," which I don't think the guy wants to do. I imagine he and his family have a house here now. So, um, my point is, if one aspect of your issue is still the same and one is new, what am I going to blame if your results stay the same? I'm not going to blame, you know, the pilot if the plane I'm flying on is a piece of junk that has repeatedly failed, right? Last year, it's not like last year they went to the playoffs, right? I mean, this was a team that underperformed last year and couldn't score goals. This is a team underperforming again this year, and outside of the occasional 6-2 win or the 8-2 win in Montreal, you know, um, those the random we're gonna decide to actually lock in. Um, this is a team that struggles to score consistently, right? And like Silvia said, they talk about going to the hard areas and this and that. And they don't do that consistently. Like it was a remarkable thing to see Andre Burakovsky his goal on Buffalo in Buffalo because he was actually going to the net. Two of the like smaller framed guys and Oliver Bjorkstrand and Andre Burakovsky were net front for that. That's good to see, but they don't do it consistently. So it doesn't matter. Like I think blaming the staff is stupid. Um, if any, and my main thing in that regard goes to Bilesma and Campbell. I think there are fan pages for one, which people going to fan pages for analysis open the schools. I don't. What are we doing? Like some Jim Bob, can just go the Kraken fan page and steal photos and create horrible Canva graphics, and somehow they're reputable. Like, what are we doing? And this dick trick is talking about. I think Campbell needs to go. My brother in Christ, like if anything, I'm getting rid of Bob Woods with how the defenses looked for most of the season. Like, at least last year, the defense looked somewhat good. They had more structure. I don't know what I'm watching in Detroit, in Columbus. I was like, C-Bus? I don't know what I'm watching in those games. And he's the guy who's supposed to be coaching your D. So, and then blaming Campbell for skating, like I don't know if they're having skating issues. I don't know what that's about. So, um, I don't know. My main point is that largely your roster has stayed the same. It has not worked over the 4 years that you've existed. One was an outlier in the playoffs, and you saw guys hit career highs. We're going to talk about Daniel Sprong later in his comments, so keep that energy ready for when we get there. But yeah, well, it's a great example. Daniel Sprong, of all people, had a career year. Ryan Donato had a career year. Oh, well, I think he's had better with Chicago now, maybe because he's got expanded minutes. But, like all of these guys shot way over their normal like percentage. It was there was a game in Chicago where Jared McCann essentially shot it from the red line and it went through Peter Mrazek. Like, I know Peter Mrazek sucks, but come on. Like, they were just getting anything. It's an outlier, right? When you have one of those four and you're using it as a bit, why aren't they like 2022, 23? That is an outlier. And that happens in sports, you know? So I'm just tired of that rhetoric. And I think, you know, um, and maybe we'll touch on it more when we kind of look at sort of the midseason stuff, because we were over the midseason point of 41 out of 82 games. Um, but this is a roster that needs serious retool, and I think they can be competitive again next year. I really do. And I imagine that, we saw it this offseason with bringing in Montour, with bringing in Stevenson. They do want to compete. Like, we are past the point of just sitting and developing those prospects that are in the AHL, as mentioned by Silvia, right? And I would push back that the Kraken have a bad future because you've got a great prospect pool. Berkeley Catton's still a few years away. Jagger Firkus is still developing. Edward Chale, is back after a great IIHF World Juniors Championship, right? Leighton Road is playing first line minutes with the Firebirds. I love Leighton Road. Nikki Coco had a point tonight as a goalie. We love goalie points. Like, and that's just the AHL. We're not even looking further, at Carson Rakoff back in the OHL. Yeah, da, 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 da. Like, I'm not worried about the future of this organization because I don't think that the problems right now will affect them in 2 to 3 to 4 years. I don't. I think a lot of these guys will be gone. I think Jaden Schwartz will be gone. Jordan Eberle will probably have been retired. Jamie Alexiak won't be here. The big rig is going to park somewhere else and suck. Like, I'm not concerned about that. I think there needs to be serious retool in order to compete again next year, whether it be because of external pressure from your season ticket holders, from the a potential NBA bid to bring a men's team here. Do you know men play sports? I think they're too emotional for that. I don't know. Um, I think it's possible. I just don't know if it's Ron Francis making those moves and cleaning up the mess that he created. So I just there's a lot of thoughts and opinions about this team, and I needed to push back on the coaching staff idea. You know, oh Jesus, Jade sent one where there was a comment. Some person thought that bringing back Dave Haxtell. So I just see that. But yeah, that's that. The delusion is crazy. I go into lunacy every once in a while, but not that far. So, yeah, that's another Charles rant on this show. I don't know how many we're up to now. I might start a counter. I'll just have it like in the corner of ding. So,
Your
um,
reaction gift to that was incredible, by the way. The Rule 27, get out of the kitchen or you can't cook or
this
whatever.
this motherfucker can't cook. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, don't, Dave Hackstall, come on, come
I also
on.
have a problem when people say that they should fire Bilesma or that they need a coaching change or whatever because he did take the Firebirds to playoffs 2 years in a row. Granted, they didn't win, but like he took them to playoffs. He isn't really lacking in coaching skills the way that some people seem to think he is, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Obviously, there can be a complaint said about every single coach. Lord knows I have mine with John Tortorella, but
what? What?
yeah.
No.
Uh, but I just don't, I agree with you. I don't think that there's a coaching change necessary. And I've had people asking me plenty of times, you know, when do you think that we see a coaching change next? And I'm like, I not for at least another season or two. I don't see anything changing there super soon unless there's like a huge management turnover where, you know, a new GM comes in and wants his own coach, which
Yeah.
then that's fair, but I don't see coaching changes happening.
I also
So,
think with the coaching situation, like sure, again, we've talked about the team's doing bad. We're not it's the same team for last year, but also when we do see like the little minuscule moments of coaching, they're always good,
Hmm.
right? Maddie being sat down, Wright being sat down, like and then them coming back out, scoring their goals, killing whatever they needed to kill. Like that is the impact that coaching has. And that's frankly the impact that Dan Bielema has always had on his teams. It's like that interpersonal aspect of it. I remember when he was on the Penguins. I mean, I was a kid, but I was still following along. And I remember following him through the AHL. And like he has just consistently been a coach who is willing and able to create those relationships with his players and get something good out of them. So if you're seeing that from the coach, you're seeing that from these players that are being sat down, then maybe, like you say, Charles, maybe it is your GM. Maybe it is your aging core. Maybe if you want to have a dynamic Seattle team, let's start with some dynamic Seattle players.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. You talk about this, you go back to this core, and we're gonna stay here. Um, I largely wanted to push the narrative that Seattle doesn't have a true superstar away. I just didn't care for it. I was like, hey, like you're gonna like no one's gonna sit here and you can't just sit and play in the corner until a superstar falls in your lap. Like that's just not how a league is run. You have to go out and try and compete and Jesus, not to reference Moneyball, but create production, maybe with a few players that one guy would produce, right? So, you know, but I don't. Maybe Seattle does need a superstar. Maybe they need to wait for a Nikolai Ehlers, Ehlers. I'm sorry, or something with Winnipeg because I don't know if the Jets are able to keep things together after this season. Does Kyle Connor want to stay in Winnipeg? Shake that up. Uh, is Ehlers supposed to hit free agency? If he is, which again, those caliber players don't hit free agency that often. Again, I think we talked about it last week or in a show before. This pipe dream that Leon Draisaitl would hit free agency, and you throw the franchise at him. You say, "Hey, you want to be a part owner? Hey, come on! Like anything you can do to get a guy like that." Like
Mitch Marner to the Seattle Kraken when?
Mitch Marner, if Mitch Marner becomes available, I know there are people who don't like him. I don't give a. You need talent. You need, I can't have Andre Burakovsky, the shell of what Andre Burakovsky is, playing first line minutes anymore. It is not a winning team, and he's not that guy anymore. Like, you know, uh, so I'm just the ways that NHL superstars largely come about is either you draft and develop them, or rarely they become available and look for a change of scenery, like Jack Eichel, right? As much as Vegas maybe Hema, like it just they don't really hit free agency that often, right? Like, and when I've looked at free agents for the upcoming year previously, like there's a few guys that could become available. Even last season, like, excuse me, who was the Panthers forward that was going to hit free agency, um, but didn't, and he signed, um, oh, shoot, he had a really high shooting percentage, but it didn't seem realistic that he would hit free agency. Or if he was, I don't think it was Sam
The
Bennett.
name is
What?
like on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember.
Not Sam Bennett, right? Hmm. I'll look at Florida, but like well, even other guys like a Jake Gensel, I was like, there's no way you're gonna get Jake Gensel unless you throw a lot of money at him, and
Carter
obviously
Verhaeghe.
Was it for Hagee?
I think
Jesus.
so.
Um,
Yeah, back in October.
yeah, it was like if he becomes available, you have to throw everything at him, and
Hmm.
obviously he didn't. Right? This is my point. They don't become available. They usually sign. They get re-upped, and people lock them down. I knew you weren't gonna get a Jake DeBrusk, like so. Um, I don't know. It was just my spot track is really taking a nap today. I was trying to use it during our Mariner show, and even right now, it's taking a nap. Um, so I don't know. That's my thing is like you have to retool somehow and you've got to move guys. Maybe you do get creative. I know that on the last 32 Thoughts podcast with Elliot Friedman and the other kid, I don't know. I don't know. He's just a white guy. I'm sorry. And I'm only there for Elliot. Friedman said that the Kraken this year might be more willing to move on from their defensemen as last year they were getting calls on him and they disappointed a lot of teams. They disappoint me every night. Um, by not moving any of them. He said this year they might be more willing to listen, but he said he didn't think it would include Adam Larson. I was like, I don't think it makes sense to move 6, 29, or 62. 24, it's a different story. And I
Hmm.
don't really I didn't, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense to move 41 just because he's young and he's controllable for the time being, and you've kind of brought him up. And, for now, he's cheaper, right? I would rather a young guy who's cheap that you're comfortable with, you know, than trying to bring in some free agent or bringing in a lesser forward from because Ty Nelson's not ready yet, you know. Is Ville Otavainen ready in Coachella Valley? Are you rolling with Kale Fleury or Gustav Olofsson? I'd rather just keep Riker Evans and not have to think about it. And then I don't think anybody would. trade you for Josh Mahura. I'm not an NHL GM as much as I might cosplay one on Twitter. But I don't know what people are thinking, with Mahura. So the only ones that would make sense in my mind to move on from, well, only one is Jamie Alexiak. So, yeah, that's my thought on that. So, and I imagine Brandon Tanev and Yanni Gord are gone at some point, whether it is at the deadline this year or in the off season when they're full free agents. Um, but then it gets tough. Then it becomes the decisions. Do you buy out an Andre Burakovsky? I say yes. Are you somehow able to move Chandler Stevenson's contract? I don't know. Do you get rid of a guy like Jaden Schwartz who is productive but is older and his contract's up next year, and you can get some value out of him? Like you have to shake things up because we've gone through this core of the expansion draft with a few added pieces of flair. It's done. We're cooked. We're charred. We are boiled. It is done. Like Sylvia's great and she has great optimism. I do not. I am tired of it. Not
I'm
the
like
optimism.
smack dab in the middle of you guys. I feel like I can keep the optimism, but then also I'm like, I hate it. The Kraken may never win again. Very dramatically. And I don't actually mean that when I say it, but I feel like I'm kind of in the middle of you guys where I have optimism and then I'm like, nope, what's working is not, or what we're doing is not working.
That's why we're the best Kraken show ever. We've got it all. We got a little bit of everything.
What more could you need? We have variety.
Have Hillary Knight on the show. It's perfect.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll top. We'll move on here.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey. Where are you going to watch all those Kraken away games?
Kraken away games, making a push. I was thinking of coming here just because Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, only if that's okay with you.
I mean, I love that idea. Hope to see you here.